Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to USA Global TV. And thank you, Dr. Jacqueline, for this opportunity to use your Talking Heads platform. And today it's really about how two talking heads are better than one. As that I'm being joined by a partner of mine, a good friend of mine. Her name is Lisa Manioki. We're going to be talking about something that we began to talk about last week. Mark Iorio, Lisa, and I have built a 4-hour workshop experience that we're calling ProFit, that is intended to create a turning point for a team that realigns the team with their aspirations, with the dreams that they share. And it's fun, and it's enjoyable, and it's very engaging, and it only takes 4 hours to complete. And it's really intended for use inside of an event at a company or as part of a Zoom meeting for a group of people, a team. And it's different from team media, team experiences you may have had. And in fact, let's bring Lisa out now. Maybe we can bring the slide deck up.
Good morning.
Lisa.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good.
I was just telling everybody about this thing called ProFit that you, Mark Iorio, and I have built, and how it's different from your typical team building experience. So let's talk about paintball and bowling, and talk a little bit about that from your perspective and how you think what we do is different.
Well, they're social entertainment nature events, and they're wonderful. They boost morale. They give people an opportunity in an organization to relax outside of the workplace. They're wonderful. However, they're episodic, meaning they typically happen on a Friday afternoon or a weekend. And then unless there's some follow-up with what went on during that time, then nothing changes at work. So any problems or wrinkles that are occurring in the workplace remain. So we've developed this alternative, not so much an alternative, I should correct myself. It's actually an addition to. It's something that should happen along with, not instead of, all efforts to bond a team better so that the people who comprise it are happy and that whatever they produce is wonderful and the organization it serves thrives.
You make a really good point, Lisa. It's not something you do instead of taking the team out to dinner. Those are valuable social experiences that really help people get to know each other better. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, there's everything right with that.
Right.
But every now and then when you get the crew together, you'd like to talk not just about the work or not just about each other, but about this common dream that everybody on a team has, this sense that everybody on a team shares something that's bigger than the team itself and any of the individuals that are on it. And okay, so we have separately and collectively helping each other along the way. We've been working on a couple of different things for the last 10 years. Maybe you can give us, from your perspective, Lisa, a little bit of the background of ProFit and where it came from.
Well, both of our initiatives remind me of the commercial of Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, where the commercial in way back when said, you've got some chocolate in my peanut butter. No, you've got some peanut butter in my chocolate. Well, this new blend made this great candy that is a staple in everybody's basket, or if for Halloween, right?
Mm-hmm.
BCAT is a movement that you and our buddy Mark Iorio have been working on for over a decade, that takes a look at the culture of an organization and the way that culture impacts its employees. It's a big collective initiative that includes the entire organization, because a good culture breeds good things, a bad culture does not. So you've taken a look at the organization as an entity unto itself, that all teams and individuals who comprise those teams create. Presence intelligence is the opposite. I've always looked at the individuals who comprise the team and how they shape it, which in turn shapes that organization. We found that as we got to know each other and aligned our initiatives together, that there was great overlap in a continuum sense. In other words, individuals comprise a team which build a culture that serves the organization. So when we look at individuals and the culture, there's no way to separate them from a successful organization. Further, teams in and of themselves create a separate entity that has a personality, a way of being, just as the individuals do, and just as the organization does. So this hybrid of the two is a blend, just like the chocolate and peanut butter Reese's peanut butter cup can be. It's similar to that.
As you're talking, I'm thinking that, and at the end of the program, by the way, one of the things we told everybody we'd offer is the starting point for the entire process that we've created. Working separately, we've created different ways of consulting with individuals and with organizations about their brand and their culture and their individual performance and their individual aspirations. And one of the things we've learned is that when you know how to do that, and that's a combination of presence intelligence and BCAT, when you know how to do that, you can do it very, very, very quickly. And we found that for a lot of our clients, in just a matter of a few hours, we can get them to where they might otherwise spend months or even years potentially with other consultants to get the same place. And it's all based on these common aspirations that people share, which I think is very exciting. So when you take your peanut butter and our chocolate and you mix them together, you get this kind of aspirational psychology solution that propels a team very quickly in a potentially completely different and much more positive direction. That's essentially the ProFit promise. And a great way to start talking about the whole idea of aspirations, because I know you've discovered in your experience that there's a lot of power in what people feel. And maybe you can talk about aspirational teams for a minute.
Well, much of my training in the last decade has been in neuroscience circles. And the brain has great power to do great things. It's chemical, it's physical, it's collaborative, it's individual, it's a real powerhouse. And when a team has aspirational goals, meaning they're looking forward to something or they're trying to achieve something, when they are all working together, then the brain actually secretes neurotransmitters. Now, this is all tech talk or brain science, but it greases the skids for great productivity, and it actually bonds the team. Look, a team is a family, and a family is a much happier family when all parties in it are working toward peace in the household and they're respecting each other's individuality within the scope of that unit. And aspirations actually do the same thing for a team.
So it's interesting and it's powerful, and there's a lot of impact in that. And so let me amplify it a little bit by sharing with everybody what it is we work together, you, Mark, and I, to discover. At the heart of every really successful team, a team that really is like firing on all cylinders, you've all heard expressions like, boy, those people are singing from the same sheet of music, or they're all rowing in the same direction. When you find a group of people that really know what it is that needs to be done and they really love doing it, you're impressed by that, you're amazed by that. And what we found in our research is that when you ask those people to describe their whole team as though it were a single person, you get back very similar descriptions from each of them. That is, the aspirational nature of the team becomes personified in a role model that represents the whole team's best self when it's doing its best work on its best day. That's what we call the incorporating question. We'll teach everybody how to ask that question at the end of this program. But for now, we're talking about the answers you get back. What we've learned is that the answers you get back from asking that question, who are we, are answers that align themselves with 5 different role model dimensions. And here's our chance to introduce you. This is the fun part for me, our chance to introduce you to 5 people you've met before, people you've encountered before, maybe people that are a lot like you, maybe people that are quite different from you. But every team represents a combination of these ingredients, these 5 dimensions that represent a team's dreams, its aspirations. Now, At the heart of every really successful team, there is a signature role model that personifies its collective aspirations. That's our just core discovery. That personification breaks itself up into 5 categories: people who create things, people who know a lot about things, people who take care of business, people who build things, assemble things to put things together and make things work, and people who push for deadlines and drive to get things done. A creator, the expert, the caretaker, the connector, the driver, those are those 5 people we talked about. And here we go with the first one. So, and let's talk about creators for a second, Lisa, because they're a favorite of mine. A creator is somebody that we can count on to come up with something all of a sudden that's completely unexpected, maybe totally outside the box. But they get a flash of inspiration. They share that inspiration with us. Often it takes us in new and more productive directions. What can you offer about what you know about creators? This I'm asking you because I happen to know you are one of these people.
Well, yes, I am. And the creators are essential to the spectrum of progress. I mean, without new ideas, life and business would become stagnant. So the creator is the person who shakes things up, sees things from a different perspectives and says, no, let's try this, or let's do that, or I have a new way to express this or to make this work. And they are inspirational because they are full of great ideas.
And okay, now I want to try to fold into this. I mean, what we're really talking about is the BCAT concept of personifying the aspirations, the signature role model of the team. But I want to make sure that we pay enough respect to what presence intelligence brings to the table. But from a creator point of view, what would a creator typically be wearing? How do they normally dress?
Well, I hesitate to stereotype, but the reality is that each of these personas that we've identified, these dimensions, do have some traits that seem to be common to each. And a creator might be more colorful. At the same time, a creator might be highly individualistic, where what was important to him or her was how they dressed. So there's not necessarily a signature wardrobe, but it might be highly relevant to maybe not the mainstream, let's say.
So it could be a suit and a tie, but the tie might be a little bit more colorful or decorative. It could be a dress, but there could be some jewelry, accessories that bring out certain things.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. The presence intelligence contribution to all this is it's very important when a team really connects with its source, with the aspiration, with the role model that represents its best self on its best day. The ultimate end state of this is to make sure that everybody on the team has a clearly articulated picture in their head of who that person is when it's walking in the real world. How does it, what do its emails look like? What does this person's clothing look like? I mean, for any given team, there will be a unique representation of all this. And when everybody participates in that, the magic then is that they all become aligned in this aspiration that role model represents. That's what gets us the results we get. That's what I think is really exciting about the work we're doing these days.
And you've made a really good point a couple of times that every team and every individual is a blend of these dimensions. These are not fixed entities that say you're this or you're that with no room for change. We all evolve, and so does a team, and so does an organization. Now, I've been very particular about not archetyping or typecasting people into specific roles. These are rather than roles, they're dimensions, they're aspects of a personality that encompass different behaviors under a great umbrella. So that's why I say a creator might be a technician, might be a person who makes widgets, and might be an artist. Creation is not confined to the arts or technology or to assembly. It's got much more to do with a way of being that is expansive and innovative. So I just caution people from thinking that you got to be one of these 5. There's just these are dimensions, not necessarily.
There are multiple dimensions, and I'm as we get to see the other 4 characters, I think the other 4 elements of the role model, I think that'll become more clear. It's a really good point to remember that all teams comprise, the role model for each team comprises elements of all 5.
Right.
and but in different amounts, like the ingredients in a cake, which is a point you'll get to make a little later on, Lisa. I think that's a great contribution too. And okay, so this might be a little bit more like me. And you know, the fun thing about the collaboration, about our collaboration, Lisa, and you know, working with Mark too, is that where I might sort of drift into the weeds every now and then about the data that tells us why we know that these things are true. And while that may not be all that particularly relevant to you, or certainly not to Mark, because he's a lot more, I mean, although I shouldn't say that. I mean, the truth is Mark is a much more of a driver. We're getting to Mark in a little bit, but the combination of those elements in our team is what makes this team so interesting. I need to learn that every now and then, and I have to respect the fact that your creator style will take me in a new direction that could be very fruitful for me. And every now and then, even though I might be a little long-winded and maybe a little detail-oriented, the fact that you respect what I'm offering in the analytics gives you confidence that what we're telling the world is something that's proved out and real in terms of actual evidence. Is that right? Do I have that right?
That's right. And with the two of us, we end up with a better result, as long as there's mutual respect for each other's contribution. It's not an either or situation. It's an and situation. It's a combination of the two that makes for greater power.
It's really powerful. That's a great point. And okay, so we've talked about experts and we've talked about creators, and now this gives us an opportunity to talk about the people that follow the rules, the people that proceed stepwise to get things done, that follow checklists, that are methodical and consistent and follow the process and trust the process every day. That's the caretaker. Now, caretakers are my impression. I think there's a little bit of caretaker in each of us. And as you know, as we said, if you care about other people, if you're focused on other people, you'll run meetings, and those meetings will include everybody's voice. Sometimes the meetings will run a little bit too long because we're giving everybody a chance to vocalize. And sometimes people might feel as though they have to vocalize in order to make the person who called the meeting happy. Talk about the caretaker and what the caretaker means to you, Lisa.
I think the caretaker is glue. You know, the caretaker is that individual who soothes others when there's chaos, or who rises to the call when somebody needs a pat on the back or a note of encouragement. They're also respectful of what in the organization has to happen in order for it to function well. So they're this personification of kindness and thoughtfulness that every team needs, and every individual needs to tap into in order to contribute to that team in a positive way, of course.
I'm really glad you're using the word contribution, because in working with you, one of the things I've learned is that this is really all about trying to articulate the contributions that our team needs from us, so that we can make the contributions from our own individual gifts, make the little changes in ourselves that we need to make in order to contribute to the team's goal, to align ourselves with the team's role model. And so let's talk then about the contributions that a connector makes. What do you see a connector doing for a team?
Connectors that move or shake or find the right people, connect all the dots of, in order to get this done, I need this person. This is a chatty Cathy, the person who's socially wired, who says, I will ask people, I'll find them, and they won't say no because I'm really likable.
So those there are elements of creator in this, but they're kind of a focused creator, design oriented, maybe, always trying to assemble the pieces into a whole that makes sense for others, or that looks right, or that feels right, or works properly.
Yeah, they aren't necessarily coming up with the idea, but they know what to do with it
to make it happen. That's so critical. And that, by the way, that's something new that's been added. We have a 4-factor model in BCAT, but in looking at the data we gathered from that research and in talking with each other, we've identified this 5th element that I think is really a critical separate element, that I'm glad to see it standing by itself now, because I think this is a big part, especially these days, of what makes a modern technical team successful.
Yeah,
so technology, I think it's critical for that.
That's right. There are many assessment type endeavors that rely on a quadrant system. But when we try to force the hand of the components of a team into a quadrant, it felt confining that it was all boxed in. And when we separated out the creator and the connector, who are definitely two different personalities with two different jobs and roles on the team, they had to be separate. So there's 5 dimensions here, not only a quadrant system of 4.
Not 4. And you know, being the expert, quote unquote, the owl that I am, went back over the data and found justification, proof for this in some of the data we originally gathered. So this is a real absolute component of role models that I think is really critical, especially these days. And glad to see this person kind of joining the team with us. Great contribution from you, Lisa. Thank you. And okay, now we get to talk about Mark, our buddy Mark Iorio behind his back. And I mean, there's always going to be that influence inside of any team that wants to know when they can expect to get something. When is this going to be finished? Is it going to be finished by Friday? Is it going to be finished today? You know, how quickly can we get this done? How much is it going to cost to get this done? That, to me anyway, is kind of the essential driver. Ever work with any drivers, Lisa, in your experience?
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah.
But he's a kind driver. But yes, I have. And the driver is essential because they keep things going. The creator who's immersed in ideating, or the connector who's talking in the lounge, trying to make connections. He's the one that keeps everybody headed in the right direction, kind of like the shepherd, the herder. He's like the herding puppy, keeping them all going through the gate, you know.
and you know, and like a shepherd, aside from the fact that they want the sheep to go in a certain direction, you're very protective of the sheep too. You want to make sure that I mean, that's another big important role of the driver, is that they're not totally I mean, if they drive a little bit too much, we identify that on the downsides of some of these slides. Right. They could appear impatient or insensitive. They might be a little bit steamrolling, but when you get right down to it, empathetic drivers exist, people that are kind of a combination of driver and caretaker. And while they're pushing everybody for results, they're also protecting each other, protecting people from outside influences. And I think that's a critical element of this. This is great.
Yep.
And okay, who's our last character, our last individual? Oh, no, that was it.
That's it. That's our 5.
We've now revealed all 5.
Well, the last individual is the entity that they all comprise.
And that's this guy. So the role model that represents any particular team is going to consist of an ordered set of all 5 elements. And we talked about this by way of example. A police department might rely more heavily on the driver and probably on the caretaker. A school, on the other hand, would rely more heavily on the caretaker and certainly the expert. Quality control team would be all about the expert, but they would also have elements of caretaker and certainly connector. And everything about Profit is within a few hours helping, based on this question, and this is the takeaway for people watching the program. We start everything with what we call the incorporating question. We ask everybody on your team 2 weeks ahead of the program, 2 weeks ahead of the workshop, to visualize your entire team as though we're a single person doing its best work on its best day to keep all of its promises and achieve all of its goals. That gets people into thinking about the team rather than about themselves. And what we get back from that are responses that we can use to begin the process of understanding our role model. And we lay all that out, quantify all that, show it to everybody. And then in the workshop, work with everybody to come up with what we call the consensus role model, the agreement that we all have that this is who we really are when we're doing our best work on our best day. And we're always amazed at how quickly people converge on that, because we never touch the third rail. We don't talk about the work. The work is important. It's certainly important to you, but we talk about your love of the work more than the work itself. What is it about the work that matters to you? What is it about the work that speaks to your aspirations as an individual? And then finally, what is it that you can feel you can do as an individual to contribute to those shared aspirations for your entire team? And it's fun to watch this unfold with a group of people, isn't it?
It is, because there's great regard for each of the individual's makeup. So each individual has those same dimensions. And yet, like in a team, too much of any one personality is too much and will skew the balance of productivity.
Mhm.
So if there's too much of a driver who's showing little regard for the expert or the need for the connector to do his or her thing, then that will show. So it's essential that each person who is made up of these dimensions recognizes, appreciates, and respects the other, and yet helps keep each other from becoming too much of anything, because too much of anything is too much.
It's too much. That's a
Yeah.
good point. Now, I just looked at the clock, and it's amazing how quickly 30 minutes flies by.
Mhm.
We're down to like our last 3 minutes, and I want to make sure everybody knows what they can do to find more information. You could certainly call this number, 212-480-3730. We're a little busy these days, but we'll call you back, and we want to have a conversation with you about how this might be helpful to you and how this might make a difference for your team. That's one element. But the other elements, and I think I love the work we do. I don't know how you feel about it, Lisa, but
I love it.
when we work with a group of people and we see, when we facilitate this process that invites them all to participate in really falling back in love with the work that they do, whether you're a truck driver, whether you're a graduate student, it doesn't matter what level of education you have. Everything we do is relatable at every educational level to everybody, regardless of the work you do.
That's right.
And it works for teams of any size, from 2 people all the way up to 30 or 40 or 100 people. So we hope you'll give us a call to learn more. And we really appreciate your time today. And, Dr. Jacklin, I can't tell you how much we appreciate this opportunity to talk about ProFit on your platform and to, take advantage of the community you're building on USA Global TV. It's amazing. You're to be congratulated on all that. And thanks all of you for, Lisa, what's the best email for you?
Lisa@presenceintelligence.com.
Okay. And I'm al.cini@getbcat.com. So you can reach us by email or you can phone us. And we also have a website, and that is pro-fit4teams.com. That you go visit to get more information about everything we do. And thanks so much for joining us today. Thank you, Lisa.
My pleasure, Al.
Totally fun. As always. Thank you.